Wow, what a film, huh?
Thank you so much.
Wow. My one comment is, you have one life, live it to the fullest, is I think my takeaway on that. And how long have you been working on this film? Because the last credits, quite a few people that we saw in the film have passed away. And so tell us a little bit of how long, and then what inspired you, and how did you meet Steve Lamb and all of that. So give us a little background.
Sure. Thank you so much, Theodora, and thank you so much to the Key Biscayne Film Festival for having us here and giving us a little time to talk about the story. Start to finish, this was an 8-year process. In 2016, I wrote a story that Ethan photographed for a publication called The Bitter Southerner that featured Steve and Charlie Fuss and another smuggler. And in the writing of that story, we just had this strong feeling that there was a lot that we just couldn't capture in one article, and the imagery was so powerful, and Ethan was already a filmmaker, so it just seemed easy and obvious that we would come down and turn the story into a film. And at that point, I'd never made a film before. This is also Ethan's first feature. So we thought it would take about a year, and 8 years later, we are here with it in festivals, and we're very excited and proud.
Well, when you said you came down, where did you come down from?
We were living in Atlanta at the time, and I just moved down here to Fort Lauderdale. Happy to be here. Most of my family's here. What's up? Jody's in Paris with Gresham, her husband, who is another producer and composed the score for the film. So it was basically the three of us, and then one more person came with us for 2 of the shoots. But it was just 4 of us driving back and forth between Atlanta and St. Pete Beach for 8 years, just whenever we would have time on the weekends, and just put all my cameras in a van and drove down and found our favorite restaurants in St. Pete Beach and tried to find Steve whenever we could, whenever he hadn't disappeared for a few weeks, and get him to talk.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a rodeo, and in the process of making the film, we just fell so in love with St. Pete Beach and with the community. And what struck us when we did the original story was just that people who had worked in law enforcement and, people who had worked on the smuggling side of the trade had reached this point in their lives where they were all living very amicably and happy to reach out to each other for us. And it just felt so unusual, and I think St. Pete Beach is such a special place and such a special town filled with amazing people, and so it was not a hard sell to spend all of that time. Of course, the project took longer than we thought it would, but that was ultimately such a gift because we loved it there. We loved the time that we got to spend with each other and in the process of making the film.
And how did you find funding for the film, or did Steve fund it?
That's
a secret.
Yeah, we didn't find any funding for the film until we were in post-production, and thanks to many of the people who are in this room, our friends and family poured in a total of $30,000 for a crowdfunding campaign that we did. And that made all the difference to get basically from this film sitting on our computer to being in front of people today, and we just we couldn't have done it without our community, so we're very, very grateful.
And how can we share the film with other people? I was saying, I wish my husband could see this, and he's not here today, but where will this film go from now, from here to where will it go?
That's another mystery that we're trying to solve, and something that we're learning as we go. We are seeking distribution, and we're also pursuing some possibilities of self-distribution. We will be doing screenings for sure in St. Pete Beach in August at a theater there that's reopening. It's just celebrated its 85th anniversary. And then we're hoping to, of course, bring it somewhere online. So the best thing to do right now is to go to www.thegreenflashdocumentary.com, sign up for our newsletter, and we'll let people know when we've established a place that it can be seen more broadly. And our hope also is to do basically a tour of, at very least, Florida theaters, independent theaters, And we'd love for it to be seen more broadly than that, too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few of us in the audience can help you do that.
That would be amazing.
Because,
Thank you.
yeah, as everyone knows, we've had our share of drug trafficking here in Miami, and it's a great story. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, a real wow factor, I think, in and very endearing too, because you find yourself you want to not like him, and then you find yourself where you want to hug him, you know. So there were a lot of emotions that were drawn through the film and through seeing the children and all of that, and his mom and all the moms, and you know. So yeah, very well done. So tell us about. I noticed in the credits to give donations to. Tell us a little bit about that. Where that money will go to, and again, how to donate if we'd like to donate.
Sure. As we are approaching distribution, one of the things that we're most excited about is the partnership we've formed with an organization called the Last Prisoner Project. And the Last Prisoner Project promotes cannabis clemency and kind of reimagining criminal justice to bring people who have been in prison for cannabis-related charges to get them released, exonerated, and reacclimated into society, job training, things like that. And so we hope that by way of screenings and other events that we can pull together, that we can raise money for them directly, and then anyone who would like to donate can go to lastprisonerproject.org and make a donation there. You can also find all of this information on our website and newsletters.
Fabulous, fabulous. Should we open it up to the audience? Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? Yeah. Here, let me
Thank
come
you.
down and find you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm curious if there was any part of the story that you couldn't fit in, or anything that you felt, because I'm also a writer, and I know there's a lot of things that you have to cut. So I'm just curious if there was anything about Steve himself or about the story that you couldn't fit in this film.
Oh gosh, yeah, thank you. There was so much that the first cut was close to 2.5 hours long, and the first cut that screened was about 2 hours, an hour and 55 minutes. And between that screening and this screening, we cut about 15 to 20 more minutes. There was so much that we had to leave that we found hilarious and poignant, but didn't really move the story forward. And so I'm sure you know, you have to kill your darlings as a creative and as an artist. So it was painful, but yeah, there was a lot that we had to leave. 8 years worth of going down there. And a lot of the time, one of the reasons it took so long to make is it was a while before we realized what the story was. The story was sort of revealing itself as we went, which is why we sort of decided to put the audience in our shoes. We're going down there. We're only getting bits and pieces. Steve is a little bit of an unreliable narrator in that way. He's quite unreliable. And so there were times, it wasn't towards the... I think it was only at the end when we realized what dates and exactly how many times he was busted. It just took a while to get all of that. And so we found that as opposed to going perfectly linearly, it was better to just put the audience in our shoes. We're on a boat with him, and then we meet Joe at the surf shop, and then we meet this person, and then this person, and so it was kind of like an odyssey. And so along that odyssey, you meet a lot of people that you just have to sacrifice and cut because you can't sit in a room that long.
But for that reason, we are also working on a podcast that will kind of tell the story of the making of the story, and in that we'll hopefully be able to include some other moments. But Steve gave us so much material, which was a joy and a gift, but also really difficult to edit down. Thank you.
I thought it was amazing that you had so many old photographs and old movies. I just did the Life of Bill Baggs for the state park, and it was we didn't have so many pictures. And it's very hard to put together a film without a lot of photographs and footage. Any other questions? Anyone else have a question? Yeah? Yeah, here we go.
I can be loud enough.
Oh, okay.
How did you guys go about getting permission for all the pictures and film? I mean, I think there was a process to that, right? And legally, and I think, was that part of the Seed and Spark?
That eventually will be. A lot of the money that we were able to raise is going to go towards you need an entertainment lawyer to basically cross your T's and dot your I's in terms of all of the archival materials. In terms of the photos, those were basically given to us by Steve and his family. They were all in his possession, and he owned all of them, and so he could just sign off on all of that, thankfully. Because we couldn't have made the film without all of those photos. And it was incredible to have the family's trust. They basically gave us a tub of photos and VHS tapes, and we're like, okay, cool, I mean, give it back. And we gave it back, but we scanned it, and we were able to tell the story just because they were so trusting with us with all those materials. This is Oma. She came all the way down from Fort Lauderdale. Love you, Oma.
You want to say something? Okay.
Well, he's just very special, and I've known him all his life. And I'm just so thankful to see all that you've been doing. God bless you and your dear friend.
Love you. So sweet. Thank you, Oma.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for a great grandson. He's the best.
I was just curious if he found the $100,000.
You know, it seems so obvious that we could have solved our funding problem. And every time that we watch this, I start to sweat a little more, thinking and wondering whether or not it's still there. We don't know.
Do you think the neighbor dug up the side yard for the...
Steve was not discreet. I mean, he was really kind of pouring this information out to everyone, so it's a little hard for me to imagine that anything is still underground.
Yeah.
And the house has passed through different owners, 3 or 4 different owners since we started working on the film, and so it's been hard to sort of find people to knock on their door and be like, hey.
Yeah, the land pirates will find the money, right? Everyone's looking for the underwater gold. They'll look in the side yards of St. Pete houses. Anyone else have a question? No. Well, with that, thank you ever so much, and
you all
we
so
give you all the best to you. And if there's anything all of us on Key Biscayne can do for you, we'd love to help. So. Thank you again.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you. Join our
Theodora.
mailing list.
This has been a joy.